You're watching TelecomTV's exclusive video coverage of the MEF annual members meeting here in Vancouver. And I'm joined now by Dan Pitt, who is Executive Director of the ONF. Dan, thanks for talking with TelecomTV again. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What would you say are the main challenges that the MEF and its members have to address now?
I don't speak for MEF, of course, but the challenges that they face are similar to the ones we face, which is getting the telecom industry to adopt more of a computing-centric mode.
Which is a big challenge in itself.
It is.
Yeah. What would you, how would you define the relationship of the ONF with MEF? What are the two of you collaborating on or working towards?
So I would like to describe the relationship in two components. The first component is intent. We are both intent on being successful working together and making the other party successful. So there's a strong desire from the top to work together to promote sort of our common goals. The second component is the actual work we're doing, and we're looking at a variety of things from using OpenFlow to support carrier Ethernet, using some of our northbound interface work to support lifecycle orchestration, lifecycle service orchestration, in between essentially an application and intent indication and the SDN controller, and to enable operators to use the tools of SDN and carrier Ethernet sort of flexibly and interchangeably to create new services.
Is that possible now? I mean, how does carrier Ethernet fit alongside SDN?
Well, the operators typically look at carrier Ethernet as a way of providing an enterprise customer service, based on Ethernet. How they do it, varies by carrier, and they don't have to really disclose that. Within the carrier, they are increasingly using SDN for two things. One, their own operation of the company, which is how they often learn, and second, as a basis for how their network offers services to their customers. So it's turning out that SDN provides a very interesting foundation for offering flexible services, carrier Ethernet included, to enterprise customers for service providers.
Is there much work needed to adapt OpenFlow for carrier Ethernet environment?
No, very little, actually. It's quite a general purpose southbound protocol of allowing a control plane and some applications to access the forwarding plane. We've abstracted the forwarding plane and the plumbing to a very simple model of matches and actions. What we're getting through some of our interaction through our member companies, our joint member companies with MEF, is how you can actually tailor the service in terms of quality of service and quality of experience based on applications that aren't necessarily just data focused, but might be more real-time media focused.
Okay, I see. We hear from the MEF about their third network and this model, this concept. How does that fit? Is there OpenFlow, as you say, is adaptable and can be used to separate the control plane from the applications? But what about the third network? Because I'm struggling to get a real sense of what that actually means.
Well, you had a key word in there in your question, which was the model, third network model. And in fact, one of the intersection points between MEF and ONF is the sharing of information models. They have some in development, we have some in development. We're now sharing those to make sure that they're in alignment with each other. And when you have an information model with a consistent modeling language and vocabulary, then you can start to compose services based on pieces of the model that have already been essentially instantiated in code. You go from information models to data models to code. And MEF is bringing to us certain elements of a data model and an information model for carrier Ethernet services and whatever the third network refers to, and we're bringing them from our side of SDN to couple things that actually have meaning to these carriers, such as the virtualized network functions that constitute their NFV initiative, supported by SDN constructs underneath. The exciting part for me about working with MEF is that it gets us much more into what we've been doing the last couple of years and we see the future being, which is above the OpenFlow substrate with the plumbing all in place, let's look at enabling services. Services bring value both for the telecom service providers and for the enterprises who are also what we call network operators and members of ONF.
So how do you do that? How then do you take the move from, okay, that's OpenFlow, going very well, thank you very much. Now let's look at enabling services. So what does that actually mean in practice?
So it starts with an information model, and it starts with what we're doing with northbound interfaces to abstract both the data plane from the control plane and the control plane from the applications. And that's where LSO fits in, kind of in between those two.
Right, and LSO being?
Lifecycle Services Orchestration.
How does that differ from a regular orchestration, the orchestration we're used to perhaps with SDN?
Well, the orchestration in our context is a very broadly used term, and it has to do with maybe setting up firewalls, or load balancers, or even orchestrating your packet and optical links according to the needs of the application at the particular time. And it doesn't really have the time constant that you think about with service creation, life cycle, and shutting down that you get in the carrier world. So when we talk to the MEF people about lifecycle services orchestration, they think of the concept of, not just what the service does, but how you get it instantiated and provisioned and operational and then shut down. And that's just a whole new dimension of time that's new for us and exciting.
Later this year, the MEF meets again in Dallas for the Gen 15 exhibition and conference. What would you think are the issues that are going to be talked about there? Are we going to see more proofs of concept? Are we going to see some practicalities? Are we in a buying frame of mind, or are we still very much working out models?
Well, here's what I would like to see. I would like to hear from operators that have implemented and deployed SDN carrier Ethernet in some combination. There are going to be 14 proofs of concept at Gen 15. There were only 6 the last time. And I'm hoping that those will show us what experience people have gained. And it's not like, okay, they've conquered it, it's done, it's over with. We're all on a road to learning more and deploying it much more widely. And the pioneers, if they're willing to tell us what their experience has been, are extremely valuable for everyone else to hear.
Well, let's hope we find out more at Gen 15. For the moment, though, Dan, thank you very much indeed.
It's my pleasure.